my fellow guitar players. Just went on a little sound journey there, you know, in the key of A. Got some cool stuff to talk about today. How's everyone's week? It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. So that's cool. We're halfway there, you know what I mean? But one thing you should practice a lot, I should practice more too, is working on triads on the top 3 strings, because you know when you're doing melodies and solos and all that cool stuff, you're mostly just chilling up there. So it's good to start to see these little chord shapes I wanted to show you. So the 2 chords I was going to show you today are the A minor chord and the D minor chord. But let me make sure I'm in tune first. It's always good to play in tune, especially after you've been playing something, you know, jamming. Man, that other jam I was just doing probably is out of tune too. So we got it zoomed in, and the 2 chords I wanted to talk about today, A minor to D minor. More in depth, we can call it the minor 1 to the minor 4, but we'll talk about that at another time. But I feel like all the music I've learned, the chord change from the 1 to the 4 is one of the most common. So it's good to practice it when you're doing your arpeggios and licks and all that fun stuff. But how to play these chords is you have your first finger on the 1st fret of the B, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of D, 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of G. And then when you go to strum it, you'll strum it from the A string, which is the 2nd one from the top, or 5th one from the bottom. Great sound. And then our D minor chord, you're going to take that little chord shape there and you're going to drop it straight down. So your first finger is going to move down to the 1st fret of the high E. Your 3rd finger is going to go down a string and then over to your right to the 3rd fret. And then the 2nd finger is at the 2nd fret of the G. So if you're like a total beginner, start with these chords, get them down to where you feel comfortable switching between them, and then once you get that down, you can move on to the rest of this video, because what I'm going to start talking about is how to make the neck not seem so scary. What I find is most people, most really good guitar players, they think about the neck as in little chord fragments that we can start in one zone and then move to the next, and we just have another chord shape that we can use to base everything off of, or you don't always have to follow the chords. That's what's so cool about guitar, is you can find your own sound and how you want to make that sound. But this is one way to start playing over some changes. So we're going to start with this cool little shape here. It's pretty much that A minor chord, just condensed just a little bit. We have our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of G, 1st finger on the 1st fret of B, and then we have the open high E. And all open means is when you play the string without pushing it down. So 2, 1, 0. So those 3 notes to make a chord, as we call it a triad, just a fancy name for the tiny little chord. And our 3 notes we're going to use is the notes A, the note C, and then the note E. Those 3, you can also think about it as the word ace, that's kind of a cool way to remember, is always going to give us that A minor sound. So if someone's playing an A minor chord, and I play those 3 notes, it's just going to harmonize so well over those 3 notes. So that's what we call a root position, the one starting on our A note. Now we're going to go to the next shape of our A minor chord. This one's a cool one. You have the 5th fret of the G, B, and the high E. I love teaching this one to beginners because it helps them work on their bar chords. Usually when people bar, they try to be right in the middle of the fret. But what you want to do is this little metal guy here to your right. You'll find what fret you want to be in, and then you're going to push the strings up against that guy. You don't have to push as hard, and it'll help you keep them down so your other fingers can kind of do their own thing. But so that's still an A minor chord. That's kind of a weird concept to grasp, but right now we're just going to keep rolling with it. And the combination now of our notes is now we have C, E, and A. We call this our first inversion. Those are just fancy terms. Root position A, C, E. Second or first inversion, C, E, A. So our last chord shape for our little minor chords is here at the 9th fret. You know, it's kind of funny, is it's just like that D minor chord, but it's just way up here. You have your second finger, get a little closer, second finger on the 9th fret of the G, first finger on the 8th fret of the high E, third finger on the 10th fret of the B. So this one we call the second inversion because we took the A note, he was the lowest here, and then when we made C the lowest, and then we made E the lowest. So you got 3 main shapes. These are all our A minor chords. And then if we visualize that the 12th fret is half of our guitar, so that these 4 dots on this left side are the same as these 4 dots, it makes it less scary to go down here. I find a lot of people, they don't know what to do down here, but we're doing the same chord shapes, just in a higher octave. So if we take that one up here, since our guitar kind of gets cut off here, we can't go to the 0 fret, you know? We had to use the open string. So when we do this one down here, it looks kind of like this. If any of you know that riff, that one's cool. I remember when I learned that, I was like, oh, it's just that little A minor triad, beautiful. But yeah, so now, fret numbers, you have 14, 13, 12. And then our second inversion, we still have that same guy here, but now our 5th fret is just like our 17th fret. And then sometimes if you can really squeeze it, you can get that last shape just barely. But that one, it's hard to find use for a chord shape that high up. That one's more for like arpeggios, you know, when you're jamming. But cool, so let's go through all those again. So these are all the A minor chords still. So what you want to do before anything else is just practice those so that you can move them up and back and you're confident and you know exactly where they are. So the next step before we get into the D minor chord is you want to think about these as 2 ways. When I'm teaching students, I call it hopscotch, but when you're playing these, you can play them together like a chord and let all the notes ring together and harmonize. Or you can play them more in a cascade. And those are really cool because those will kind of get you started playing some licks. did there was I was like, okay, here's my little chord here. I started out with just playing some notes, letting my ear lead me. And then I was like, okay, I found a spot to land. Now what's my next shape? And I was thinking about this little guy here. I can't remember how I got there, because every time you would do it, you want it to be slightly different, because you always want to be exploring new avenues with these chords. But cool, let's continue on. So do each one of those as hopscotch, like this next one. Think about it as more of like a finger roll. You're taking 3 different parts of your finger, you're kind of taking very tip like you would when you're playing the open chords, and then you do more of the middle, and then you can do almost right before the kind of joint of your hand. And then this last one here. So really cool stuff. This one, you just go second finger first, 9, 10, 8, first finger. And do the same method for the ones up here, the higher ones. So what I think the coolest part about these little chord shapes are, and why I feel like a lot of people focus on them a lot, is because with the guitar, you can take something you already know and you can move it around to find new chords and new sounds, which is so cool. So we're gonna do that A minor to D minor now, and since there's an A note within the D chord, we're gonna use it to get to our next shape, which is really cool. So this one, we're starting here 2, 1, 0, and then when we go to the D minor, all we have to do is bring our first down and then throw that third finger to get that D minor chord shape. When I go to this next chord, this A minor, then I'm gonna go 2 frets across with my third finger to the 7th fret, 7, and then 6 on the B, 5 on the high E. Then we have our A minor chord, but as the D minor shape. And then here's our D minor as our bar on the 10th fret. So if I isolate the 2 chords without playing all of them together, you got A minor. I call this one the little staircase shape. And then you have the A minor again, but in the kind of bar across. And then you have the A minor in the D minor chord shape, because this is usually how you learn the D minor chord. And you live your whole life just thinking, oh yeah, that's D minor. And then when you learn it could be other chords, it kind of blows your mind a little bit. But so the D minor chords, D minor as the D minor, and then we have at the 7th fret, 7, 6, 5 is the little staircase, and then at the 10th fret, we have the bar across. So A minor, A minor, A minor, D minor, D minor, D minor. And you can do every minor chord in existence in those 3 shapes, honestly. So now what we're gonna do is imagine the band is like A minor, D minor, the whole time I'm just gonna be thinking about those 2 chords. A, then you go to D. So a great way to practice this is to actually record yourself playing these 2 guitars. I should have recorded some before this lesson. Maybe I'll do it for the next set of chords. But set that up, get some rhythm going. You can even get some drum and bass in there. That's even better. Or Better yet, go out and jam with your friends. Tell them, your homie, hey, play this A minor chord or this D minor chord. And then just practice at first, just going, A. Then you go D. And then you're going to move up to the next voicings. A to D. A to D. And you want to go all the way up. These little chord shapes have helped me so much because you can apply it to any key. This is just A minor. Or we're just working with these two chords because you'll see them a lot. You know, a lot of songs use A minor chords and D minor chords. Real common key. But I think what I'm going to do is after I get done showing all the different positions of these chords, because there's a couple more sets of strings, what you can do after you've mastered this is you're just going to take that and you're going to move up a set of strings. So now instead of being on the G, B, and the high E, you're going to be on the D, G, and the B, and you're just trying to figure out where those three shapes are. But master these ones first, because once you master them, they're there forever, you know. I mean, I guess mastering is kind of a vague term. Get them down really well. Thank you so much for watching these videos. I'm going to play those chords one more time. Cool. Well, have a great rest of your day, my fellow guitar players. Play a lot and have fun. Peace out.